So I'd like to introduce myself first off. I know there's some people in the audience that know me already. I'm Dr. Angela Smith, not a medic, PhD. There is a difference. Don't come to me with your trick elbow. I'm a team leader for the Northwest at RTC North. We are a company that helps SMEs through our coaching, mentoring and consultancy and advisory services. We primarily work in the areas of innovation, first and foremost, but also work with supply chain, with the skills and talent agenda through STEM programs. So we cover a wide variety, and we have the immense privilege of working with a lot of SMEs in that innovation space to help them take those innovations into the marketplace and grow as a result. So that's me in a nutshell. So I'd like to ask my fellow panel members to introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Bernadette Clarke, everyone calls me Bernie. I'm the Managing Director of Evolution's NHS business, and that delivers people services into the NHS in the digital healthcare space. I also run something called Her Plus Data, which is a women in tech and data meetup in Manchester, co-founded and been running that for about 6 years. And as Charlotte mentioned, I co-curate the One Health Tech Hub for Manchester with Charlotte and Alex, concentrating on issues around diversity and inclusion, particularly around the female agenda.
Hello, I'm Yousef Taktak. I'm an innovation specialist with the Business Growth Hub. I lead on the Health and Life Sciences program, supporting health tech companies and life science companies in terms of innovation support, business support, and accessing any kind of funding that they need.
Thank you. With the audience today, just casting my eyes round, very diverse audience today, which is lovely to see, so thank you all very much. When we hear the terms innovation and technology, the image that immediately pops to mind is perhaps very stereotypical. It's sort of white men, lab coats, very serious, thick glasses. But of course, reality isn't like that. So I would like to get your take, first of all, in the importance of diversity in the workplace and where the benefits of that can be seen.
So I think from the experience that I have, when I first started working with the NHS, I had a little bit of a look at the data, and there are 226 trusts. When I looked at the sort of ratios of the C-level leaders, heads of directors, there was around 160 male leaders, and we can do the maths on the women that were in that. In those positions. And I looked at that and thought, well, from a perspective of representation, how do women know that there are role models above them? I'm very interested in people's careers and their journeys. And so I approached those women and talked to them about their journeys and their careers. And what they did is let me understand not just about their sort of practicalities of their careers, but the differences, the things that made a difference to them while they were working, their careers, the things that happened to them whilst they were working. So what I mean by that is like life events, going on to maternity leave, how they felt when they were returning from maternity leave, the things that would make them stay in a position or the things that would make them leave a position. And if we're thinking about retention, those are very important aspects to why someone would actually stay in a job or to leave.
Because of course that retention piece is vitally important. I mentioned that we deal with talent and skills, and one of the things that keeps coming up is the difficulty in recruiting talent in the first place, but retaining talent as well. So
it is exactly that. I agree with Bernie. It is, diversity is not, you don't read it in a textbook and you don't study it. It's an experience. And I've experienced it from a startup point of view, where I started my own companies, trying to build the team that is going to deliver at the end of the day. And so basically you are recruiting from a wider talent pool. Exactly. You are looking at different innovative ideas, different solutions. The team that, the diverse team comes from different cultural background, different socioeconomics, obviously gender, and so on. And that drives the actual passion within the team to produce and to increase productivity and be a happier place. And, once your customers, your suppliers know what you're doing, and you're producing, the team will be in a happier place, the organization is in a happier place, and that is really important. It is an experience, and the diversity in the workplace is something so essential, especially building a team as part of a team. And I'm with the Business Growth Hub, and our innovation team is diverse. It's a happy team, it's a productive team, and a lot of you can recruit
if you think,
from anywhere.
We think we're in 2023 and we should all know these issues by now. But 5 years ago I was recruited onto the board at Evolution, which is an SME, and they all male board, and they knew that they needed to be more diverse. They didn't really know what they meant, so they just thought, well, we'll hire a woman, and tick that box. What they actually have done is, there was 5 women in the business when I first started. They've shown, by hiring me, they've shown what is possible, and that is so powerful in today's workplace. So many women would be leaving their positions because they think that it is not possible to achieve a leadership position. So we're now, I'm proud to say, 50-50, which is great, but it's having that representation, having that power to show women what's possible is really, really important.
And what you brought up there is the difference between talking the talk and actually doing what you say you intend to do. I mean, obviously, larger companies perhaps find that a little easier, or the perception is they would find it easier because they have a lot of internal resource. But what can SMEs do? And I'm interested, because we work a lot with SMEs, the benefits of a more diverse workplace, as you say, bigger talent pool to pick from, you widen your reach. In the last panel, we heard about end user engagement and reaching your customers. I mean, we're in sunny Manchester today. I'm Mancunian born and bred, by the way. I'm allowed to take the mickey. And as well as sort of over 50% of the population is female. Sorry, guys, you are in the minority. But it's also a very racially diverse city. So if you're thinking as a company, right, if you are solely the traditional white men over a certain age, that's over 50% of your market that you're not reaching. And if you take into account the non-white population, that's another chunk again. So you can see real benefits there. But how can SMEs on a practical basis really embrace that inclusivity and that diversity?
Sorry, Angela. Yes, I think it is important for SMEs and startups to actually have that diverse workforce, diverse team. And I can understand it is difficult, because it's not just saying, okay, we have women, we have disabled people, we have ethnic minority people, and so on. And where the SMEs find it difficult is actually having processes and policies to protect the diversity of the team in terms of racist comments and so on and so forth, because that's really important, because you're working with as part of a team with people from different backgrounds, from different cultures, from different national origins, as well as gender, disability, and so on. And that's where SMEs find it difficult to have those policies to protect the diversity in the workplace. And you're right, larger companies can have those systems in place and so on. And it takes a lot of resource to actually have those. And that is really important for us, for an SME as well.
But having those policies, and I guess what we're talking about sort of from a company point of view is that culture, almost from the off of, we want to have that diversity, that is what we're about. So it's sort of that combination of culture, but policies needn't necessarily be a scary thing to put in place or a hard thing to put in place. It's just knowing what you want to achieve and having that support to achieve that, I guess.
Exactly.
I think on the point of culture, you can have defined policies in place, but on the point of culture, when I've conducted the interviews that I've conducted, it's probably about over 130 interviews, what we talk about is things like microaggressions that happen on a daily basis. So maybe putting a view forward or an opinion or an idea, and that being either ignored or being overlooked. And it's, for a woman especially, that would be a struggle in terms of the confidence in putting themselves forward again. Having a voice on a board, or there being representation at board level, or groups internally that would actually help to give that voice. It's quite difficult as one sort of lone voice in an organisation to be very brave and call things out. But it's as a collective, and therefore hiring more people with diverse protected characteristics, that's why it's important.
We talked earlier about obviously the customer reach and end user engagement. How are you seeing from your own personal experience or working from companies that in action? That sort of, because I know, for example, I don't wear women's jeans. I always buy men's jeans, and it's because pockets. I don't know if any smiles and nods from the ladies in the audience here. So I mean, it's something as simple as that, is that in women's jeans the pockets are micro, they're useless, but men's jeans have nice deep pockets. And it's as simple as that, a simple little thing that means you are alienating a good chunk of your potential customers. So obviously having diversity in the workplace can help with that aspect, but it goes wider than that. It goes about having that in mind when you're innovating, when you're talking to your own customers. I was just interested in your take on that particular issue. So, Bernie, if I can come to you first, perhaps.
I think it works both ways. I'm often visiting organisations, and if you're met with an all-male panel, that can be really daunting, and then maybe the meeting isn't as productive, and you don't actually get the results that you want both ways. That's my take, really.
Yeah, and there's something that I'd like to mention, really, Angela, is that when you're talking about the diversity and say gender, disability and ethnic minorities, and in terms of widening the customer base, widening the talent pool, there's so many disabled people in this country. There's, the ethnic minority is a large percentage, and if you don't have a diverse team that understand what these cultures are like, what they need, then you're not going to reach to those customers. So you are missing out in terms of customer base and in terms of talent base within the organisation.
Exactly. And I guess it's not, what we're talking about is not deliberate sexism, racism, ableism. It's more from a point of, I mean, I'm a white straight woman. I have got no idea what somebody from a non-white background, what their lived experience is, because I haven't lived it.
Exactly.
But we can all be really good allies to those that are maybe underrepresented in organisations. And especially with the work that I did around talking to women about their careers and their journeys, often when I share that information with male CDIOs, CIOs, etc., they will say to me, what can I do to help? What do I need to do? And very, very simply, it's about support and about spotting opportunities in which you can show that allyship, demonstrating on a practical basis, or spotting something and simply saying, listen, I saw that, how do you feel about that? Is there something I can do to support? Really, really simple tactics that don't need to be overcomplicated. But when you're one individual in an organisation, or you feel like you're in the majority, it's incredibly difficult to be brave and have that voice.
It can be. What's your experience of that kind of
being a male
day-to-day?
ally? Yeah. How do you feel that you've been a male ally, Yousef?
No, it's for me really. It's important to have that sort of different cultures, diverse team, and it's not for me. It's not a matter of positive discrimination, it's looking at the person in terms of their experience, their CV, how they fit in, and that particular experience, that cultural background, that ethnicity is part of what you're recruiting really, and that is so important, whether it's male or a female or ethnic minority or disabled. The person brings always something to the team, and that is really important for me.
And I have to say, because we talk about, people tend to naturally just be more attracted to people that they are familiar with, that looks like them. Yeah. But from my own experience of heading up a team, which is pretty mixed, in personality types as well as gender, is quite often those nice, conflict isn't the right word.
Healthy conflict.
Those healthy
challenges.
Exactly, challenges is a great word. It's
yes.
the challenges where people go, hold on, have you thought about, or what about? Those are really helpful, healthy discussions to have.
It's those differences.
Exactly.
Should be celebrated.
in terms of the ideas and the impact from different backgrounds. Really make a difference.
And it goes back to sort of being in yourself slightly restricted by your own lived experience. Yes. And it takes somebody else to go, well, have you thought about? Oh, yes, I'd never thought about. So yes, because it didn't occur to me, because that's not my everyday experience. Yes. I mean, it can be things like looking at wheelchair accessibility, for example, because I don't use a wheelchair. I don't have that lived experience. So is that slope too steep? Is that passageway too narrow? It's that kind of feedback that can be really helpful. It's things like, oh, can we not have that key meeting at this time because it interferes with X, Y, Z? I mean, picking the kids up from school interferes with, maybe it's not the best time in terms of things like Ramadan.
That was a major thing that
fasting.
Came out of the work that I did, the sort of the division of labour in a household. Mm-hmm. Still, really, the invisible burden falls to women in the majority. Often when senior jobs are being looked at, sometimes there's shoulder tapping events that maybe women are more inclined to be doing the dinner, doing the school run, and they're not necessarily at these sorts of shoulder tapping events. So actually, it can be a preclusion to a career.
But unless you're in that position, you don't realise, because, well, it doesn't affect you.
No, exactly, and it's, as you said it, Angela, it's not, just talking about it. It's actually, doing it and making sure you have the right diverse team within the organisation. It's so important, and we've been discussing it, Bernie and I. It's productivity, profitability, and so on.
Making your
ideas and innovation, exactly.
Actually more attractive through being a diverse organisation.
And those are both really important points, because it's not just about virtue signalling. Here's my halo. Aren't I a wonderful
box ticking exercises?
Exactly. It's about those harder-nosed benefits to an SME in particular, about that productivity, that growth, that end-user engagement that really helps them grow. I mean, I don't have the stats off the top of my head, but practically every study that's ever been done has shown that more diverse organisations tend to be the more successful ones.
Their financial performance is impacted by the fact that they are diverse.
And it's a
Yeah.
happy team. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, it's a happy team, and a lot of talent would want to join that particular team.
And that's the kind of a
It's
real
important.
take-home message
Yes.
is you've got a happy, diverse team, you've got a productive team, you've got a productive, growing company. So
Exactly.
I think that's kind of us waffling on. So for the last 5 minutes, I kind of want to throw it out to the audience about questions, comments, experiences.
I've got one that I want to steal and share.
Gentleman at the back there.
Hi, my name is Fareed Khan. So I've spun out many companies, and the diversity issues is also about the diversity of thought. Okay, we talk about lived experience, but thought as well, and environments. I mean, for example, some of my staff, some of them don't drink. They may be from different ethnicity or different religious background. So the fact is that when you have these groups of people who, like the taps on your shoulders that you mentioned, that all the decisions are made in pubs or other areas, etc. So they're completely excluded.
Yeah.
And that's what I found when I was working with a large pharma company before. And so you don't get those opportunities. So you're not even in the equation. So I think that's essential. And then also, there's spaces they require, maybe prayer facilities and etc., which are completely excluded from the top management who have no idea of these things, and that adds value as well. And the diversity of thought as well, which I say that some of these people are bilingual. They're born here, just like myself, but they're bilingual and then entering markets. And yesterday I announced in news that we're working with a Malaysian partner, academic partner, in the area which I work in, which is Alzheimer's, and the fact that that there's some cultural and bilingual opportunities. This gave us a huge uplift. So these are kind of the things that I'd just like to highlight.
Exactly.
Massive benefits, yeah.
Hi. I want to build on that actually. My name is Anna. I'm from software engineering background, and I have a question about transferable skills. Like in our field, it's quite often there are some tech returners or people who are switching careers, and then the question about transferable skill arises. Like, do you have any kind of advice or best practices, or actually some experiences that you had a skill and you transferred it to something else? Yeah, transferable skills. Yeah.
Well, speaking from my own experience, I'm actually a Manchester graduate, so I said at the beginning I have a PhD. I was a lab rat for a very short while, but the skills I learned from that, particularly scientific writing for a certain audience, that's transferred into my day-to-day work supporting businesses. So my first job was working in a biotech SME, tiny company, where I took those skills that I learned writing my PhD, applied it to grant writing, so to fund the R&D program, and now I've taken that skill, and in my day-to-day role, one of the things I do is I support companies who are themselves going through that grant writing process. So it's sort of almost going from academic to business into business support. So I don't know what...
I would encourage you to highlight those transferable skills, or anyone that's thinking about that, and for hirers to really take that into account, because there could be gaps in people's work experience, but it doesn't preclude them from actually being really good at the next role that they do. So I think hirers should be a little bit more open-minded about considering what those transferable skills could actually bring to the workplace, rather than just discounting them out of hand.
Yes, I do agree, and if there is a gap, just put in place a support program for that person, because you don't want to lose that person if they have gaps in their experience, in their knowledge, and try and put support programs to actually bring them up to the level you would like them to be at.
I mean, transferable skills are often called soft skills, and it's a term I don't like, because the soft skills, the communication, the team working, the problem solving, they are actually really core to the success of a business.
Exactly.
So they're described as soft skills. I think that's a bit of
They're
a misnomer.
important skills.
They
You
are
cannot
vitally
work as a
important
team,
skills.
as an effective team, if you don't have
Yeah.
these as part of, ingrained in that particular team.
Absolutely. So, have we got
time for
just one
Okay.
more? Just one more?
Thank you. My name's Claudia. I work in an organisation where I head up our inclusion strategy. Something that just resonated with me was last year, I think it was 2022, there was talking about data and kind of reporting. I don't know if anyone saw this, but there was a gender pay gap bot that came out. It was actually on Twitter that retweeted companies that were putting their kind of awareness about women's, what's it called? The National Women's Day.
Yeah.
So they actually, the bot actually retweeted the actual gender pay gap results for the companies that were doing it. So it showed actually those companies that were saying we support women in the workplace, actually what was happening. And that really resonated with me because it's, I think, to your point around kind of not just talking the talk, I feel like we say a lot about what we're going to do, but actually the reality is a lot of businesses still aren't doing it.
Yeah.
And I think being innovative and making the environment, the workplace, actually a safe, comfortable place for everybody is really, really important. I guess to you, what else is it that we can do apart from, for organisations, just putting awareness out, we support it or we believe in it, what are we actually doing, how can we be innovative as well?
Well, I'd rather like I'd like to flip that bot thing and go, right, here are the companies that are celebrating International Men's Day is also available, by the way. But the ones that are actually doing the do, I would like to really sort of champion them and go, look, here's a company, they're saying it, they're doing it, and here's the result. Because I think that kind of encourages others to really look at best practice. So what is this company doing that we can incorporate and we can achieve that success as well?
I also think businesses can think there's a cost element to actually creating diverse workforces and working on that, rather than seeing that actually that ROI would actually come back into the business if they made the effort.
Return on investment.
Exactly. Yeah.
And can I add one thing? Try and get feedback from the team and from your workforce as well, because it is so important. Not just, you may think you're doing the right thing, but try and get the feedback from them. And a take-home message from me is just implement a diverse workforce, because it's so beneficial to the organisation.
It's just a comment, really. I just wanted to say, I've been in recruitment for a long time. What's interesting, and more interesting probably over the last 2 years, is senior and specialist people. That's my world. There is a real interest in the business. So what are they doing? It's the old, deed, not word, isn't it? And more people are, it's of course, it's the role, it's the environment, it's the salary, it's all of that. But actually, what is this business about? And I think it's a really interesting shift that, thankfully, because I've done my job for a long time, I'm here to witness. So it does matter, and it should be more at this lady's talking about transferable skills. But I think it's in the round, isn't it? But it does matter what your business looks like. I've had a lady walked in a very important role. She walked through the office, there wasn't a single other woman. She carried on walking after the interview.